Okay, we are live. Welcome to Tribe Talk. It is October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. It's getting pretty scary, especially right here at the studios. This is where I get to answer your questions live. You can submit them right now over on the LondonRealAcademy.com. Just go into Tribe Talk, which is under the Academy section, or leave them here below wherever you're watching this on the Facebook group or YouTube or wherever you're at. So let's get started. I've got a whole list of questions. Just wanted to shout out to Tony Flowreel in the house, AJ, Louise, Candy, a bunch of our awesome Academy members for being here. And let's jump in. I've got 10 questions and I'm going to burn through these super fast. As usual, feel free to ask me anything. We're obviously right here at London Real Studios where I get to interview some of the most amazing people in the world. In my chair, I'm actually sitting in the guest chair tonight. Elliot Hulse has been here. So is Dorian Yates. So is Chris Eubank. So is David Allen from Getting Things Done. RJ Mitt from Breaking Bad was here a week ago. So I'm feeling all sorts of amazing, powerful energy coming from this seat. So hopefully I can answer your questions and just give you some straight talk about how I got here. It's 4 years ago, almost exactly to the day when London Real started with the first episode, actually right here in the studio, but it didn't look like this. It wasn't that fancy. So if I can help you answer some questions about how I got here, I'm more than happy to help. And that's really what we're doing here with the show, with the Academy, and with the movement, what we're really trying to do as far as being real. So hit me up with the questions. I'll be checking the site now. Drop them wherever you are, and I will find them, or someone here will find them for you. But let's jump in. Carlos Sosa said, "Hi, Brian. What were the unexpected obstacles that you faced at the beginning of London Real, and how did you solve them?" Where do I start? If you've watched my TED Talk, you'll know that in the very beginning, I couldn't even get my family to like my Facebook page for London Real. They wouldn't even like it. And it was literally one click of a button, let alone support me in any other way or watch the show or tell people about it. So it was a crazy uphill battle, but you have to go through that hard time when you're going to create something new. Whenever you're going to start something, you encounter this thing called resistance that the author Stephen Pressfield talks about. And it's when you create any kind of art. But the flip side of that is you also encounter this amazing force from the rest of the world that gives you a helping hand when you need it the most. And so you get both of these two things. So whenever you're having problems when you're creating something, just think of it as resistance and just chalk it up to that. The great way about looking at problems as resistance is you don't assign blame to him. So it's not her fault or his fault or that company's fault. It's just resistance, and you can power through it. So what were some of the problems? Getting people to watch the show, getting people to care, getting guests to show up, getting the show produced, getting the show to look okay. So those were so many of the problems I faced. I also faced my own issues, struggling with the fact that I used to be a city banker, which if you don't know, if you're not from the UK, that means like a Wall Street banker. And I had this whole identity that I walked around with, and I would introduce myself as, I'm from ICAP PLC, and I work in the city as an interdealer creative credit derivatives broker. I haven't said it in so long, I don't remember. And that was my identity. So when I became a YouTuber or a guy sitting in a Shoreditch loft broadcasting himself, it was a hard identity shift for a while. And I remember this one time where I had to pass out flyers for London Real because I figured we had to tell people about it. And I went to Liverpool Street Station, which is just down the block here. And that's where all of my old city colleagues, all the bankers, all the traders, all the investment bankers, and all my fellow brokers would walk around. And I remember I had to pass out the flyers to all these random people. And I thought, man, if one of these guys sees me passing out little pieces of paper, they're going to be like, what the hell happened to Brian? Look at him. Look how pathetic he is. He's passing out little pieces of paper trying to get people to watch him on YouTube. And so I remember feeling like that resistance in my stomach that said, don't do it, Brian. But then the other part of me said, are you in? Are you 100% into what you're doing? And if not, then go home. So I went out and I passed these flyers out, and I literally walked up to people cold in the middle of a very busy train station here in London and said, hi, how are you? I remember I use a yes ladder, and Gabby knows this one. Do you use YouTube? Yes. Oh, wow, fantastic. Do you like great interviews? Yes. Okay, well, I'm Brian Rose. I'm the host of London Real, and give them a flyer. We do this, and we shoot right over here, and we talk to fascinating people every week that will change your life. and teach you new things about yourself. And so that was a moment of resistance that I remember was a huge obstacle for me to get over and finally be okay with all of my former colleagues and my former identity, knowing that I was this new person. So hard thing to do, but it's something we all have to go through, especially when we tell ourselves in our mind that we're this thing, when in fact, you're just yourself. So identity, or as Ido Portal said, the movement expert who was, of course, sitting in this chair a few weeks ago, your dogma, when your dogma doesn't always match up to what is real, as in what you're telling yourself is true, isn't matching with the reality, you're going to have a real conscious shift. So get ready for it. Just be prepared. It's okay. Everything's going to be all right. If you don't do this once every few years, something's wrong with you for sure. Second part of Carlos's question said, have you always listened to your inner voice in the same way you do now, or has it changed because you've gained more confidence in the last 4 years? Look, no question, I'm much more confident in going with my gut, trusting my beliefs, that's for sure. You can probably see it in the active meditation video I did recently with Elliot Hulse, where I won't go out in the middle of Primrose Hill, which is a big central park here in London, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, I'm yelling, I'm angry, I'm falling on the ground, I'm doing all these funny things, and I was even doing it in the gym today, where I'm grounding myself and jumping around and going like, and I'm so comfortable doing that because I don't care what anyone else thinks because I know I'm doing it for the right reasons. So things like that, I just feel really open and honest and really in touch with myself. So I'm not really worried about what other people are thinking of that or thinking of that because I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm being the right person and I'm being really congruent to myself. So that's changed over the years. And to be honest, I'm just still getting comfortable in my own skin in general. And I think I've still got a long way to go, but I notice certain things about myself that I'm just much more better at. And listening to my inner voice is one of them. Whenever we have a question about what we're doing here, or if we're not growing fast enough, or if we're not turning this into a business fast enough, I always think back to myself and think, are we doing the right thing? Yes. Are we presenting great content? Yes. Are we having amazing guests on whose stories need to be told to the world? Yes. So keep doing it. Keep doing it no matter what. Does it make me happy? Yes. Does your life improve every single week that you do this show? By far. Does my peer group get better? Yes. Do I have better friends? Am I a better person? Do I make more intelligent choices? Am I healthier? All these things have been yes over the years. And I used to talk about every year I would do a review, like, will I do London Real for another year? And 2 years ago, I was in New York City, and I remember sitting to myself, am I going to do this for another year? And I said, look at all the amazing people I met. Look at how much I grew as a person. Look at all these things I've learned. How can you not do this for another year? So that's what I learned about myself. And we'll get back to that with one of the other questions coming about your passion. So there we go. Moving on. One more thing I wanted to say. We got a package here at London Real the other day, and I've been showing it off to all the focus groups that come here on Friday night. So any Academy member is always invited to come here for 3 hours on Friday. Meet me, sit here, smell the leather. As Dan Pena, the $50 billion man, would say, meet Winston, the dog here. But we have a special treat that came to us from the CEO of YouTube, and this is our Silver Star. And you get one of these at 100,000 subscribers on your channel. We're actually almost at 120,000 right now. So we're blasting through that goal, which I love to blast through goals that once seemed impossible, and then you cruise right through them. And this is pretty special because did I know we were ever going to get it? I don't know, but it's a great sign that we've kind of got somewhere. And so I always pass this around. And there's a lot of people in the Academy that have their own shows and have their own podcasts, and I encourage everybody to publish video. But I always tell them, you're only a few steps away from getting this. It's really that close. And as one of my guests recently, James Ketchell, who climbed Mount Everest, who cycled around the world, who rode across the Atlantic, he said every problem, huge, insurmountable problem, can be broken down into little goals. So for us, it was 100,000 goals. And every day, let's get one subscriber, and then get one subscriber. And it reminds me of what Ice-T once said, the famous rapper. He said, I get fans the old-fashioned way, one at a time. And think about that for a while. So do we here, one at a time. So, easy come, easy go. someone, with 1 million Twitter followers one day, who you might not know their name the other day. We're here for the long run, so we're going to be here. So let's go to the tapes. Louise Carrier says, and she's an amazing member of our academy. Louise is up from north of England. Amazing energy, fabulous input. Anyone who talks to her goes away with a warm, amazing experience, which is what the academy is all about. Love it. She says, as someone with an awful lot going on, any tips on how you plan your day and week, please, and keep all those plates spinning? Yes, there's a lot of plates spinning over here. That's the way I like it. Louise, quite honestly, it comes down to one word: no. I say no a lot, and I say it and I upset a lot of people. I say no to my family. I say no to my friends. Sometimes I have to say no to my girls, although they always come first at home. But sometimes I have to say no to get things done. And some people are like, Brian, you didn't return my email, or I asked you to come here and do this, or I asked you to meet me for a coffee and you never got back to me. And it's like, I do feel bad about that, but right now I've got one goal, and the goal is making London Real and the London Real Academy the greatest thing that ever was created, and to add more value, make more people happy, move them forward in their lives as much as possible. And so, like Mike Dolce said when he was sitting here, and Mike Dolce, he is the trainer and the fitness trainer for Ronda Rousey in the UFC, the greatest female martial artist and fighter of all time. And Mike said, Brian, for every action you do in the day, it is taking you closer to your goal or away from your goal. That's it. Simple. Those two choices. It's a binary choice. So whenever you have a choice in front of you, and so for a fighter, that might say a piece of chocolate cake, is it taking you towards your goal or away from your goal? Or a night out partying, towards your goal or away from your goal? And for me, I've had good friends come in from New York City, and it was like 3 weeks ago, and I had webinar, show, webinar. And they said, Brian, I'm in town for 3 nights. Can you do dinner? And I said, no. I haven't seen them for 2 years, good friends of mine. But I had to make a choice, and I have to say no. And if I'm in for a penny, I'm in for a pound. And so right now, as I've always been, I'm 100% in on London Real and in on me. And if that's what I want, I have to say no. So Louise, it comes down to that. There's certain things that come first. And for me, that is training, meditation, London Real, family, and then friends, and then some fun maybe comes afterwards. And so I think you just have to get used to saying no and say no more often. People will get over it, but at the end of the day, you have to have your own priorities, and you can see them when you're done. You can see them at Christmas. There's plenty of time. So, Louise, that's what I have to say. Just prioritize, cut out all the flack. It's great to write down what you did for every hour of the day for the past week. It's an exercise I did for Dan Pena, the $50 billion man, before I went to the Castle seminar and after, and it'll show you how little you get done during the day, and you'll be shocked. I'd say most people probably have 3 hours of time they get things done during the day. So write all that down and then start cutting out the fat into where you're really just focusing on important things to get done. So there you go. Moving on. Third question. Carlos Nunez says, hi, Brian. I got 2 questions regarding the concept of branding yourself and starting a business with your face on it. This is really good. How did you balance this out with maintaining a private life for yourself and loved ones? That's the first question. And 2, as he says, my inner fearful slacker asking here, how did you come to grips with losing some of the benefits of anonymity, i.e. attracting people with less than good intentions, facing the fact that you're really accountable for what you say, having less slacker time? Great question, Carlos. I really appreciate that. 1, talk about private life, putting your face on a brand. You know, in my opinion, if you're going to do something in this world, it's so hard with all the resistance around you to get it done that you have to be all in. And if you're not willing to put your face on it, well, then what kind of signal does that tell your customers? That it's not important, or you're not fully vested, or you don't put your name behind your business? So I think you have to do that. And I know there's all issues about creating a brand that's not associated with your personality, and you can do that, and that's fine. But for me, it's like, I trust you more if you're willing to put your face behind your brand. So I think if you're starting off, which a lot of people watching this, or a lot of people in the academy are entrepreneurs, you gotta be all in, and you need all the help you can get. It's so hard to create something out of nothing, so hard. I'm not gonna go with the statistics, 90-some% of people or small businesses fail. I don't know, I don't really like concentrating on that. But you gotta put yourself behind your brand, and if that means that you might fail and publicly fail, well, that's good. You got to do it. You got to burn the ships like Columbus apparently did. I don't know if that's true, but you got to be all in. So put your face on it. And private life, whatever. It's got to go. Like I said, if you're all in, you're all in. So I had that issue. This kind of goes back to that Liverpool Street Station moment where I didn't want to bump into a banker, and he would see I'm passing out flyers for a YouTube show of me talking when I used to be this big time banker guy. Well, are you willing to put your name and your brand behind your passion, or are you not? And the answer is you have to. So don't worry about that other stuff. It'll work itself out. And the second part is the benefits of anonymity. I get stopped sometimes on the street. It's amazing. The people are amazing. London Reelers are the most incredible people you've ever met. And the people in the academy that invest in themselves and in us are even 10 times better. So quite honestly, 99% of the time, I talk more than the people that stop me in the street do. Sometimes they're like, okay, I got to go. And I'll be like, oh, but tell me again, what'd you think of Dorian? What'd you think of Ido Portal? What'd you think of all these people? So they're awesome. So I don't, sometimes I'm taping something and I'm in a grumpy mood and my microphone's not working and I'm on the street and somebody's waiting to talk to me and I'm like, dude, I got to get this done. And I'm like, I feel bad later. So, but that's a sacrifice you have to make. As far as that slacker time, again, you want these people to make you accountable. And when we first started London Real, I basically made a pledge, not that anyone was listening, that I was going to do one a week. And once I did that, I had to be accountable to you guys. And I talk about this on my TED Talk. It's like now the tribe was making me accountable. And now I had to be that guy. And I couldn't have done it without you. So to throw this right back at you, Carlos, you not only is this a tough thing to do, you have to do this. This is a necessity if you're going to get from A to B to C. You have to go to where the fear is. You have to put it all on the line and be willing to put your face on the front of the tin, and then also take all the heat when you screw up, when you say something stupid, when you look dumb on camera, when you have a stupid guest on, or when people say, oh, you do that YouTube thing, right? And trust me, I've been through all those things. It's only in the last year where people now say London Real's cool. But for 3 years, trust me, it was hard out there. And sometimes I would explain to people what I do, and they would just look at me like I had horns, green horns growing out of my head. And Luis is laughing over there in the corner. But I remember going to see some of my city friends at like a cocktail party, and they'd be like, oh, Brian, how are you? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm doing this show called London Real, and I invite these people on the show, and we put it on YouTube, and they would just be like, they would look at me like I was like, I don't know, eating my young or something. And so, but that's okay. That's all part of the process. And again, that's all about finding your new tribe, because your current peer group, let's be honest, they're not going to support you because it's new to them, and they're not going to be the ones that are going to help you. When you do something new, you got to go find that new tribe. And again, back to my TED Talk, go watch that, because that's an essential part of the journey. And it's one that I learned. Even when I started the academy, I told a few friends about it, and I'm like, are you going to sign up? And they're like, oh, I'm busy. And I was hurt. This is the guy that should know better. I was like, oh, you're not going to sign up for my academy? But I don't want them. I want the people that are going to value it. So remember, go find the people that are going to value you, your passion, your product. Don't try to sell it to your friends and family. That's cheating. That is the easy way out, and it's not going to work in the long run. So there's some knowledge for you. Louise Carrier's back. She says, it's greedy to ask 2 questions. Louise, I got so much love for you that it's okay. When are you going to come see us in a focus group, by the way? I wonder what techniques you use, Brian, when you have an idea in a hurry and you don't have time to let it brew and brainstorm. Great question. David Allen, author of Getting Things Done, who is our first guest in this brand new studio, he writes it down in a notebook right when he thinks of the idea. And he pulled it out during the episode. Watch it if you want. And he's like, look, Brian, I wrote a wine that I saw in the store. I wrote that I need to do this and do this. And he showed it to me. What I do is I email myself. And I do it all the time. I do it in the tube. I do it at concerts. I do it when I have ideas. I constantly send emails to myself. And that way, I brain dump it, so you get it out on paper. If you ever come here to the studios, we got whiteboards all over the wall. We've got sticky paper we stick on the walls so you can write all over the walls. And we get it out on paper. Then when you look at it, you have a different idea. Then Julian says something about it, or Luis or Dre, and we start talking about it. So the first thing you do, get it down, Luis, write it down. I'm a big fan of emailing myself. You can use Evernote. You can write it in a pad, whatever you do, but do something that works. As Chase Jarvis said, again, I'm name dropping tonight, Luis. Chase Jarvis, the award-winning photographer who who photograph Serena Williams and brands all around the world. The best camera you have is the one that's with you. So for me, the best system you have of remembering what you just thought of is the one you have with you. For me, I email myself. So there you go. David, if you're listening, tell me what you think of that. Moving on, by the way, this is tons of fun. Tell me if you like the new format here with the chairs. I was doing Google Hangouts, but we got this beautiful studio, so why not use it, right? But I'm loving this. This is tons of fun. Hopefully you're getting some nuggets here. And like I said, if you want to leave questions, you can leave them under here on YouTube, on Facebook, or come on to the Academy, LondonRealAcademy.com, and go into Tribe Talk under Academy. Leave them there. It's all good. Mariana Afanasieva, love that last name. Sounds like you're coming from where my girls are, from maybe the southeast. Maybe towards Bulgaria way, Romania way, maybe I'm not sure. Lots of love for those, for all y'all. How do you stay in a steady emotional state, and how do you protect yourself from burnouts when you're feeling really overwhelmed? Great question. Okay, we had a guest in here, James Rhodes, on Monday, and after he left, it was like 4 o'clock, and he's like, "What are you doing next? You going home?" And I was like, "James, we grind here." I was like, last Saturday night, at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock on Saturday, last Saturday and the weekend before, we were here. And Luis was here and Julian was here in the studio. And so we're always grinding. And the funny thing is it was actually fun. That's the weird thing, right? Now, Luis might disagree. But like we were getting things done. We were making videos. We were producing content. We were hanging out with amazing people. We had one of the actors from Breaking Bad for 5 seasons here in our studio on Saturday night. I mean, come on. Just as an aside, when I was like, Brian, do you want to do this on a Saturday night? I was like, well, who else am I going to be hanging out with on a Saturday night with that's cooler than RJ Mitty from Breaking Bad? Am I going to go to some cocktail party, or am I going to go to some dinner? And I was like, no. So is this work? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But how do you keep yourself from being burnout or overwhelmed? It's a great question. At the end of the day, you need to be doing what you're passionate about and what you love. And so London Real, the first 2 years, there was no traction. Well, there was traction. There were people who loved it, but it wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't, 14 million people that had watched the show. It wasn't a business. And so at that point, it's like, why are we doing it? Well, for me, I was like, I'm meeting amazing people. I'm telling their stories to the world. I know I'm doing something important. I love it. I'm emotionally invested in it, and I'm becoming a better person. So I know I'm doing the right thing. So that kept me from feeling overwhelmed or burnt out. In the last year, the last 6 months, when we have the Academy, and we've got members, and we've got focus groups, and we've got multiple shows during the week, Silicone Reel, we got live episodes, we got Tribe Talks, we got webinars, we got Daniel Priestley coming over, Peter Sage coming over, Dave Asprey coming over, all these people coming over and doing things. It's easy to try to get emotionally overwhelmed, but at the end of the day, I know what we're doing is right. And so even if people aren't buying into it right away, even if we don't have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, we all know, at least I know in my heart, that what we're doing is right and what we're doing is awesome. And so that makes me not take it too seriously when sometimes it's not growing 10x, which is what I like to see every 3 months. And I'm really hard on myself, but at the end of the day, I think I can go down and breathe. The other thing I try to do is just keep a reasonably balanced lifestyle. Yeah, we spend a lot of time in the studio, and yeah, it's not always fun around here, and we argue and we yell at each other. Got a little crunchy today. It gets crunchy with Julian, with Luis. Sometimes they tell me I'm horrible and my videos are bad, and sometimes they're right. But I feel like we all have some balance as well. We had a little bit of time off in August. I go home at night and I see my girls at home. I spend time with them. I train. We all have like kind of a day every week that we tune out and go do our other things. So I think if you keep this balance and then also go where your heart is, that's a great way to keep you from being overwhelmed. When you're trying to do things and you don't know why you're doing them, like, I got to make $1 million. I got to make $1 million. But if you don't know why you really have to make that $1 million, that's why I think sometimes you can get overwhelmed. So again, bringing the head and the heart together, kind of like Phil McKernan said, who was on our show, when those are in the same place, then it's very easy not to get overwhelmed because you're doing work that's through you, right? You're empowering other people through the work you do, and it's not about me being famous. It's not about me getting interviews or getting this. It's about this work that we do, and it's always about the great interview we did. We just dropped an amazing interview with Dennis McKenna, brother of Terrence McKenna, the greatest psychonaut of all time, someone I've been listening to for years. Will that show be watched by 100,000 people? Maybe not. Who cares? We made a beautiful piece of media that will be watched for the next 1,000 years. And we've told this man's story in a way that I think no one else will tell in such a beautiful way. If that doesn't make me happy going home at the end of the day, then who cares what else will? Who cares? Doesn't matter about the money, doesn't matter about the fame, nothing else matters. And I know Luis feels that way, and Julian feels that way, I feel that way. Everybody on the team feels that way, and that's why when we have a Chris Eubank in here, we feel awesome because we made something amazing. Who cares if someone buys it? Who cares if someone does this? We know we did something great. So that's one of the way I keep from being overwhelmed. Hope that answers your question. John Keating says, I'm a recent member of the Academy. How do you prepare for your talk and walk around London? What equipment do you use? Let's just do some basics here. It's a great question. If you hang out in Shoreditch in East London, sooner or later you're going to see me walking around talking to a camera. That's okay. I started doing that about 3 years ago or 2 years ago when we were just too much in the studio, and I thought, let me get out and walk around. And now you'll see me, I walk around with a monopod stuck on my hip with a DSLR on the end. I take a lapel microphone and stick a Zoom microphone recorder in my back pocket, and I sync those two later, and I walk around and try to get as involved in London as I can without being photobombed or stopped or my attention being broke too much. So that's how I do those pre-rolls. They've changed over the years. Sometimes they go short, sometimes they go long. It's very challenging, especially if you go outside in Britain on like a 5 o'clock on a Friday and everyone's outside the pub, then everyone has a comment on what you're doing. But that's good, it keeps you sharp. So there you go. Also, John said, I'd love to meet you and meet the guys at London Real. You know, as I said earlier, I say no to everybody, including my best friends. So I say no to you, but as an Academy member, every 2 weeks you can come to our focus group here on Friday at the studios. Come here, meet me, sit in the chair, smell the leather, and meet 25 other Academy members. It's an incredible experience. Some people say it's like an AA meeting. Everyone gets up and talks, so it's awesome. So John, come please see us and do that. A few more questions here. I'm trying to go through 10. This is a lot of fun. I'm loving this. William Meister says, my dream is to build an international lifestyle business inspiring and helping entrepreneurs. He lives in the Netherlands, and he asks, is it wise to do this in Dutch as far as the blogging, the vlogging, and build the tribe here, and then later go to English and go to the rest of the world? Great question. My first gut feeling is go straight to English. But my second feeling is a micro niche is a beautiful thing. And if you listen to what we do or what Daniel Priestley does of KPI, former guest, former webinar guest as well, it's about finding the micro niche and then owning that niche. So part of me says go English because you can just go so broad. And most Dutch people have great English. They're actually really fun, warm, outgoing, cool people. So I think Americans love Dutch, and I think a lot of people in the world love them. So I would say go with that. But at the same side, if you think you can find a nice micro niche of people and own it, then go with that. But you know, the world is so big that I would say skip it and do English. But don't forget your own unique IP or your USP, unique selling proposition. Your IP is your intellectual property. We all have IP. You live in Holland. You might think that's boring and that's dumb, and you live next to a dam, or you eat French fries with mayonnaise or whatever. I'm throwing out all the stereotypes. That's okay. But to a lot of people, that's super cool. So never forget that your story is amazing to a lot of people in the world. So embrace your story, embrace what you do, tell the world about it. I used to think my story was really boring and stupid until my TED Talk. And then when I told people I used to be this banker that from MIT, and then I started doing this show, and then nobody liked it, and so I just went to where I was most scared, and then all this fun stuff happened, and then I went and saw Joe Rogan, and then I went and did this. And people were like, that's cool. So embrace your own story. It's a lot more amazing than you think. So go with that, and that's my suggestion. Go English, and send me a pilot. And if you want to start your own Amsterdam reel, we've got about 15 different reels around the world. We have New York reel, Vancouver reel, Toronto reel, Midwest reel. We had Dublin reel for a while. We got Melbourne reel. So many great reels. If you want to do that, I always say one thing to people: send me a pilot. Don't send me a logo. We had someone in the Academy recently posted a logo. That's okay, but anyone can do a logo. I like people that walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. So send me a pilot episode with your first guest. Then I know you're for real, and then you will have my time. Until then, don't waste my time. Next question. Archeology, who was here at a focus group about 4 weeks ago. I'm a big fan of Archie. He's a UX specialist, which is user experience specialist. He's got a crazy story. Dutch guy again, has a place in Turkey. Super cool. And he asked a couple questions here. He said, watching the Oren Clough episode, you said you have to pitch all the time. And yes, I do pitch all the time. It's funny. I used to tell people I pitch all the time, and they're like, why do you pitch, Brian? You just interview people on the show, and then you put it on YouTube. No, that's wrong. I'm pitching all the time. First of all, I'm pitching to get the best guests on the show. I'm pitching to keep the team, focused and wanting to work and be part of London Real. I'm pitching potential sponsors like Bulletproof or Squarespace. I'm constantly pitching all these other ideas that you've never heard happen or that are going to happen in the future. I'm constantly pitching. So don't think that you shouldn't always be pitching. You always need to be pitching something. You should have your pitch ready in 30 seconds if anyone bumps into you, always. And if you're not pitching an idea, you should be pitching yourself. Always be pitching. So yeah, Archie, that's on that. You also said, where do I get the money to start London Real? I never raised venture for London Real. I basically stopped earning a living 4 years ago and just walked away from all of that and just started broadcasting. And everything that we make here, we plow right back into the business and invest. And that's something I learned from Gary Vaynerchuk. And he has a great point. He said, if you believe in yourself, then you should believe that you can make, say, 10 times returns on your money if you invest in yourself, or at least 5 times. So his point is say you have a business and it's doing well and it's making $250,000 that year. And you say, oh, well, I'm doing pretty good. Let me take $100,000, pay myself, $150,000 we'll put in the business, and next year we'll see how we do. Well, his point is this: why don't you live on $20,000 and take $80,000 of that and invest it back in the business? And if you do that a year from now, that will have grown to say $800,000, or worst case, $400,000. And so his point is that if you believe in yourself, invest in yourself. And I totally agree with him. And that's why I've had this discussion with so many guests off camera and on camera, that people talk about investing, or we had a webinar the other day, How to Manage Money Part 3. You can watch that. And I said, don't buy a house. I see a house as an interesting investment, but in London, it's going to return 5% for the next 20 years. That's great. That's nice. Passive income is okay, but it makes you passive. But if you believe in yourself and your passion, and you're only in this life for one shot, then put it all on black, baby. Put it all on black and put it in yourself. And so I believe that that's what we should do. So anything that we get in from sponsors or from Academy money, we're putting it back into staff, videos, shows, building something better, technology, everything. So that's my thought when it comes to investing, because you're only in this once. What's the point? What do you want to do? I don't know, drive around in a car, all that stuff. I mean, if you're in this world, I think you should be invested 110%. So that's my feeling on investing, Archie. Last thing Archie asked was, Brian, you must have grown enormously over the last 4 to 5 years. What are the 3 most important things you see different about yourself today, looking back at the guy you were 4 years ago? And this actually spins into a comment that I had earlier. Actually, this is from Jack Devereaux Cameron. He's on the Academy. He said, not a question, man, but you seem 1,000% more comfortable on camera than only a few years ago. Been cool to see the changes. Jack, thanks so much. I appreciate it. To be honest, I've got a long way to go. And when I watch myself back, even in the last few episodes, I'm like, damn, Brian, you got to be more relaxed. You got to be more on point with your questions. You have to make sure you drive the topic better. You have to waste less time on your shows. So I'm super critical on myself. Some would say too much. I remember I tweeted out one time, this is back in the day before we went on Joe Rogan, that I am my most harshest critic, and that is my greatest, that was one of my greatest assets and one of my worst nightmares. And Joe Rogan replied, and he's like, me too. And so I'm my worst critic by far, and I'm always really harsh on myself. So I think I can be much better. But yes, I have gotten better, and it's only come through practice. I used to be horrible. I used to get nervous before I went on camera. I used to do all that stuff, and I still do a little bit, but it's just practice, 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 and you will get better. I might not ever be like someone at the top of their game, but none of us will ever be as good as someone else at one specific thing. So don't worry about it. If I'm ever not as good on camera as I want to be, I make it up in logistics. or in being so fortunate to have a great team around me, or having Winston here to make me look good. So there's always ways around it, but it's just about practice. But if I look back on 4 years ago, I think I'm just more comfortable being myself. You could even argue that London Real was just a whole journey about me exploring myself and me opening myself up to the rest of the world. Not to get too deep on you, or not to get too much in the psychiatrist chair, but I think there was a lot of what I was doing was I was screaming out for engagement with the world in a big way. And so me talking about my feelings, I remember one of my buddies from New York City, one of my former bankers, when I told him what I was doing, he was like, Brian, getting on camera and talking about his feelings, that's the opposite of what I would ever thought you would do. So for me, this is a learning process. I think I've gotten better about being open about myself on camera and talking about myself. But to be honest, I got a long way to go. And when I look at some of the pros like Charlie Rose, I think he's one of the greatest interviewers out there, and there's other people that are amazing. So last question, and then I'm going to go just check our live questions really quick. Noura Naker says, Brian, Noura Naker's our community manager. She's awesome on the Academy. She'll put you in touch with a private Facebook group. She'll hook you up with an accountability partner, someone that can help you achieve your goals if you're an Academy member. Noura's awesome. She said, Brian, what advice do you give to someone who wants to take the entrepreneurial role and start a business, but they haven't found their niche yet? If you don't know what your passion is, should you try something, act as a learning experience? Yes, I would say, as Dan Pena would say, just effing do it. Find something you're passionate about and do it. When I interview all the people in the technology sector in London on my show Silicon Reel, which I've interviewed 85 of the top founders and CEOs in London, some of them that have created billion-dollar companies in the last year, from when I started interviewing them to now, they're all about this. What keeps you doing what you're doing when it's 3 in the morning and you're tired and your wife or your husband is mad that you haven't been home the last 3 nights, and you don't see a business model, you're running out of money, and you're about to cry? What makes you keep going? Something you're passionate about. So Noura, to you and anyone else that's listening out there, just do something you're passionate about. Life's too short for anything else. You can't do it for any other reason. You can't do it to make mom proud or dad proud, or to tell all the people at your high school reunion that you made it, or because you want to make $1 million. All that stuff is fleeting. It's all going to be hollow and empty when you get there. It's just not going to mean a damn thing. And you see it all the time when you have these actors and musicians that go overboard or go off the rails when they should be famous. You know, maybe Justin Bieber a few years ago. And just these people that don't know why they're doing what they're doing anymore. And you meet a lot of famous people. You meet a lot of billionaires. I've met billionaires that have come to some of our functions, and some of them are grumpy, really grumpy people. And you're like, well, how can you be grumpy? You have everything. But they don't have everything because they're not following their passion. So Noura, to you and everyone else, find something you're passionate about it and go all in. Put your name on it, put it all on black, and go for it. And if you fail, that's okay. You're going to learn at a super steep rate, and your next venture will be awesome. Your next venture will be awesome. And even better, you're going to attract all these people around you that feel your congruent, true energy. And they'll be like, wow, Noura's doing something she really loves. Look how bright she is. Look at her glowing skin. She's always smiling. And they're going to be attracted to you, as opposed to you doing something you don't love. Trust me, you'll get the worst energy ever. My last 5 years in banking, I didn't have any friends because nobody wanted to be around me because I wasn't doing what I truly loved. I'm telling you, that stuff rubs off, and you send out energy everywhere, and humans pick up on that stuff real quick. They know, like this, they know. So that's my last bit of advice. I'm just checking on the Academy here. One last question. This has been Tribe Talk. I hope you've liked this. If you're liking this, we might do this more often, even weekly, and call it Real Talk. Also, want to get your thoughts. I might have some people drop by and chat to me for like 10 minutes, maybe former guests, maybe people from the Academy, where we can just have like a really relaxed chat, talk about things happening on Twitter, answer questions from you guys. I love the episodes, and I like going deep into people's heads, as you know, like Dorian Yates and Chris Eubank and all the people I talked about. But sometimes I think it would be good to talk to you, answer your questions, and get your thoughts on kind of what we do here. So I don't know, a lot of feedback coming on here. Everyone's saying thanks. They're having a great time. I'll just go through one more question. To install any beliefs, let me see. One final thing someone always asked me about was just my routine. And something that comes up a lot is that meditation piece, and I just try to make sure that I do that in the morning, and this will be the final thing I talk about tonight. One of my guests here had the name of Anita Morjani, And she was this patient that was suffering from cancer, almost dead, and in her mind had a revelation and it went away. And I almost didn't have Anita on the show. I was like, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if you can cure cancer with your mind. I don't know if I want this crazy lady here, because I curate these guests, and that means that you trust me to put these people in your head every week. And I take that very, very seriously. So before I had people on, I really got to ask myself, Brian, is this okay? Is this congruent? Finally, I was like, all right, let's have Anita on. And the one thing Anita said to me, she said, Brian, one thing you have to do before you leave the house every morning is you have to love yourself. Sounds really simple, but you have to love yourself. And once you do that, it's like every interaction you have throughout the day, people will know that and they'll just open up to you and the world will be yours. And one of the ways that I love myself every morning is I do that meditation, and I take 20 minutes out to get my brain straight. And it doesn't matter if I need to be doing this, or I should be doing that, or I should be at work earlier. I just do that for myself, and it tells me subconsciously, I think it tells my brain subconsciously back here, that I actually love myself. And it's a great message to tell yourself that you're important, take that time for you, and the rest of my day is awesome. And I do that also with my training, and then when I eat well, and when I keep positive people around me and positive energy, I think those are ways that I'm telling me that I love myself. And I do love myself now, haven't always loved myself. So it's a great thing to do, and I think it's the most important thing you can do. Without loving yourself, you can't do anything else right. Your relationships are gonna be garbage, your parenting's gonna be bad, your business is gonna be bad, everything's gonna be bad. So figure out how to love yourself, take time for yourself, treat yourself right. And that's the way I'm going to end this Tribe Talk. Hope you've enjoyed this. I would love to get your questions for next week. We're probably going to do a real talk, and if not, we'll be in 2 weeks' time. We'll be doing Tribe Talk. We stream this tonight on Facebook, so if you liked it there, let me know. And if you have more questions from me, we'll post the next one up very shortly and start putting the questions in for that. Love to hear feedback. Love to hear what you think of the camera setup and all that stuff. So there you go. It's about the journey. Thanks for being here with me for the last 4 years. It's crazy what's happening now. It's been an amazing thing for me to see us from start to finish, but also we got a lot more work to do. I want to touch more people in the academy. I want to get more people to change their lives and really build better versions of themselves, achieve their goals, get accountable, and have people watch them and be like, wait a second, you're not doing that. So that's what we do. That's why when you join the academy, you have to put a 3-minute video of yourself telling who you are, what your goal is, and what the academy is going to make you do. And you should see our feed in the academy private Facebook group. It's just like all these amazing vlogs of people all around the world introducing themselves. So that's what we're trying to do here. And that's my main goal of the year, to get all these people to become better versions, and we're all going to benefit along the way. So there you go. That's Tribe Talk. I'm Brian Rose. Thank you so much. That's it. We're out of here.